Hi, I'm Janice Switlow, and today I want to make a brief statement to you reminding the distinctions between Aboriginal title, quote unquote Indigenous title, and actual title. Now, under the Section 35 doctrine, there is a concept of an Aboriginal right of Aboriginal title. That means that this burden on the Crown's land can be exercised. However, remember the Section 35 doctrine provides for the quote-unquote lawful means for you to be pushed aside and off that, even if you've gone to court and been granted this Aboriginal right of Aboriginal title. This is not God-given, Creator-given title. This is not underlying title. This is not your allodial title. This is a domestic doctrine of creating a concept of quote-unquote rights that are attached to the land, okay? And the doctrine sets out, as I said, the conditions of when those quote-unquote rights can be infringed, even to the point of not being able to exercise them at all. That's a far cry from actual title, where you actually have rights and responsibilities. You see, under Indigenous law, remember, the law of the land is where the land is. So when non-Indigenous people came over, and Canada gets shaped as a part of its self-government exercise granted through the Queen for her subjects, what they try to create through the Section 35 doctrine is foreign law vis-a-vis the land. It's Indigenous land that governs the land. And when the treaties were entered into, and this is a repeat and a reminder, that the land was governed by Indigenous law. Indigenous law does not allow for the outright sale. It requires preservation of the land for future generations. So the Crown, not wanting to go to war with you, not wanting to engage in war, decided the better bet would be to get permissions of access and use. Now, it's hoped over time that you would die out. Your land would be left by the side of the road, so to speak. Everything's abandoned. There's no one left to exercise it. You've all been assimilated, enfranchised, what have you, killed off, so that the Queen could, pick up the whole bundle, if you will. Now, that never happened. So now, this effort to get you to accept a Section 35 defined title. Actual title means sovereignty. Actual title preserves in the case of this area called Canada, preserves your right to engage in treaty making with other nations. Economic sovereignty persists, all that. It's a completely different thing. So you have to be careful when someone says your jurisdiction. Is it your jurisdiction under your laws, or is it this artificial, defined doctrinal jurisdiction permitted by Canada under the Section 35 doctrine for so long as is not necessary to push you aside and off of exercising that jurisdiction? The simplest thing is to always speak of your title, speak of your lands, your resources, who you are, in connection with your nation, and that's linguistically. Don't accept when someone says, oh, you'll be getting to exercise your jurisdiction, or we're going to give you the right to exercise your jurisdiction. Remember, Creator gave you your jurisdiction. Canadian government doesn't give it. You gave permission to the Queen in order for her to exercise jurisdiction in certain respects, but not over you. So it's not the same thing. When your grandfather, great-grandfather, would speak of title, that's what I'm talking about in terms of title. But what's discussed today in courts, on agreements, in meetings with Canadian reps, when they speak of title in your jurisdiction, remember that's as a Canadian government, bound by the Charter, for example, and coming under Canada. So I just wanted to clarify that. Be careful what you say. Use a few more words to spell out exactly what you mean. It's your land, your laws, not someone giving you something that's not anywhere near as powerful, and that really, because it can be pushed aside, are not rights. Rights mean you have a right, not the right to temporarily do something until such time as someone else needs to push you aside so they could do something better. Thank you.